Whilst sifting through dozens of applications, as well as the strong opinions of supporters, Nigel Clibbens said Carlisle United are clear about what they want from their next manager. "We need someone who's going to be motivated and driven to be successful here," said the chief executive. "To see it as something they need to make a success of, rather than want to. They've got to like the challenge of bringing the club from where we are now, and trying to do better, and not be intimidated by having to follow Keith Correll. Ultimately, they've got to help us reach our ambition, to get out of this league. They've got to be able to take fans along with them, and us, and the players along with them too. There are all kinds of qualities needed. There will have to be compromises. Generally, people who have all the qualities are not League Two, they're in the Champions League." Clibbens, it was clear, was just as keen to ensure Correll is waved off respectfully. The game, though, waits for no man, and with United expected to operate on a reduced budget next season, finding someone whose boat will be floated by that predicament appears critical. "The club is going to have to change," Clibbens said. "We need a new way forward. Everybody accepts that. It's not about expecting wonders or miracles. It's about seeing it as a challenge and wanting to have a crack at it. We have seen this season, and do every season, how well-drilled outfits with great coaching and good recruitment can make headway. I've said many times, and I'm not just saying it now because it suits, money isn't everything. We need to change the balance at the club, on the process itself." Clibbens said United had not and were not headhunting anyone, preferring to invite applications. An interview process would also include at least one Black, Asian or minority ethnic BAME candidate under the so-called Rooney Rule, piloted by the EFL. United have a cutoff in mind, but Clibbens did not want to reveal it, conscious of how timescales on other situations, when made public, have come back to bite the club. He expected, though, anyone with interest to make themselves known in the next 7 days. A long list, short list and interviews would follow. In terms of the appointment, Clibbens will be managing the process so far along, but United's Holdings Board, Andrew Jenkins, John Nixon, Stephen Pattison, Lord Clark, CUOSC's Billy Atkinson, will make the final decision. Co-owner Nixon is currently away, on a break, but, Clibbens said, would remain in contact throughout, and this would not hold up the process. Asked how much the club would take of fan sentiment on potential candidates, he said, "You can't run a club by committee, or by doing what's popular, making short-term decisions on what the sentiment is. We've had fans demonstrating and with Correll out banners if you hark back, so far. Things change. You've got to try and make the right decisions for the right reasons. Having said that, my strong view, long held before I came here, was that you have to take the fans with you. An eye-catching choice who could lead to a spike in season ticket sales could not be the main priority," Clibbens added. "Someone who could provide impetus, yes, and reinvigorate everybody, but most importantly prove capable for the long run. On fans' views," he added, "we don't live in a vacuum. I've probably had 30 or so emails about what we should do next, some saying it was a good decision for Correll to go, and some saying it wasn't. I listen to the radio, go on the forums, get emails. The club hears what fans say. We also see the sentiment towards Keith, and that's reflected in how we've tried to go about this at the end. Correll's fate," he said, "was something that had been under consideration for a long time, and this sort of thing is never easy to iron out. Keith's done a good job here," he added, contrasting this with the normal reasons a manager tends to leave. "This isn't a usual circumstance," echoing Correll, he said the time was simply right for both parties to split. "We've had 3 full seasons of Correll, 3 cracks at this, and the squad needs to be relived, and therefore there are lots of things to do. Maybe it's the right time for a new person to come in and start with what's left behind." Wednesday's meeting, between Correll and directors, was frank and open, Clibbens said, a discussion of the recent journey and the path ahead, with judgments formed on that basis. The club, he said, had not already made its conclusion beforehand. Once the decision was made, there was no attempt from either side to change the other's mind. No contract offer, it seems, was ever tabled. The immediate aftermath will see Correll offer his views on the retained list. Ideally, Clibbens said, a new man would be appointed in time to make the final call, but if that proves impossible, the club will speak to players and act on Correll's recommendations. The outgoing boss will meet his squad in the week after the awards dinner, on Sunday week. The more challenging and, it must be said, uneasy part of Clibbens' press conference came when he was pushed on United's finances. James Phillips said he had heard they were particularly precarious, and that the club were struggling right now. "I'm not hearing that," Clibbens said, though he did not deny that Chairman Jenkins had loaned more money recently. He insisted this was simply a continuation of what had happened before. On Edinburgh Woolen Mill, whose substantial loan facility from March 2017 has been presented as a way of easing reliance on Jenkins, Clibbens also said their support continues. Pressed further by Phillips, he added that, as he understood it, it was not the case that they would have had any influence on any holdings board decision on Coral. On the money side generally, Clibbens confirmed that United intended to change tack. After recurring six-figure losses, plugged over the years by Jenkins and more recently WM, next season will see the Blues wearing a tighter belt. We can't continue to try and spend our way out of this league and incur the losses we have, Clibbens added. We need someone who will embrace that challenge, and focus on what we've got, rather than what we haven't.